The queen was left speechless by Princess Ella's unexpected calm response. She had expected outrage, resistance, or at least some semblance of disagreement from the princess. Yet here she was, accepting Jungkook's decision with a grace that left the queen momentarily lost for words. The room was filled with an uneasy silence, the weight of the moment hanging heavy in the air. Jungkook held Ryan's hand tightly, a silent testament of his sport and resolve, while Princess Ella's calm behavior only added to the confusion and chaos that had taken hold of the grand hall. Ryan stared at Princess Ella, her gaze a mix of confusion and shock. She watched as the princess calmly accepted Jungkook's decision. Her composed response a stark contrast to the chaos and confusion that filled the grand room. Ryan could not help but feel a mix of shock and worry, questioning the situation that was unrevealing before her very eyes. Jungkook took a step forward, his voice firmly cutting through the tense silence. Jungkook, enough of this confusion, he declared, his tone carrying a hint of frustration. Today is a celebration, not a confrontation. Let's enjoy the feast and forget about this matter for now. Jungkook and Princess, come with me. I want you to know something. He said to the princess and walked out of there. Princess Ella, still calm and composed, nodded in agreement. She followed Jungkook, her eyes fixed on the king as they moved through the room towards a quieter area away from the feast. Wine marched as Jungkook and Princess Ella left the feast. However, her attention was quickly drawn to the queen, whose gaze fell upon her with a deep sense of anger. Not wanting to draw unnecessary attention, Wine excused herself from the feast, feeling the weight of the queen's glare as she quietly slept away. Jungkook looked at her, his expression serious and his tone firm. He met her gaze directly and asked, Jungkook, what are your intentions? Princess Ella met his gaze evenly, her expressions betraying no emotion. She gave a small sigh before speaking calmly. Ella, my intentions, she repeated, a hint of nonchalance in her voice. I have no intention to become the queen. If that's what you mean, I only agreed to this marriage out of duty for my family. Jungkook's tone hardened, the weight of his words carrying a hint of fury. His eyes narrowed as he spoke in a harsh, angry tone. Jungkook, how can I trust you if you try to harm Ryan? You do remember who I am. Princess Ella held his gaze, her expressions unblinking. She held her ground in the face of his anger, her voice steady as she retorted, Ella, I understand you are the king, but I have done nothing to deserve such accusations. I have no intentions to harm Ryan or anyone else. Jungkook's eyes narrowed, scrutinizing her words and demeanor. He studied her face closely, searching for any sign of deceit or dishonesty. Jungkook, I find it difficult to believe that you mean no harm, he responded, his tone tinged with suspicion. Princess Ella sighed softly, her expression tinged with sadness. Ella, I never wanted this marriage in the first place. I love someone else, king, not you. Her words were spoken softly, carrying a hint of longing and longing. Jungkook's expression remained guarded, his arm crossed as he studied her. Though the suspected she spoke the truth, he remained skeptical, not wanting to accept anything at face value. Jungkook, who is it that you love? He asked, his voice tinged with both suspicion and intrigue. She shook her head, a hint of expression in her expression. Ella, it's not your concern, King. she said firmly, her voice carrying the weight of finality. I have said enough to explain myself. Jungkook signed and nodded, his expressions unreadable. Jungkook, okay, you can go now, he said to the princess, his tone devoid of emotion. You have made your choice, and I respect it. Jungkook stood on the stage with Vian by his side, a smile of determination on his face. He looked out at the crowd and announced with conviction, Jungkook, I wanted to announce that I am going to marry Vian this week. The crowd erupted in a mix of gasps, acclamations, and applause, the news spreading like wildfire through the grand hall. Everyone in attendance seemed taken aback, a murmur of surprise and anticipation filling the air. As the excited chatter filled the air, Jungkook's voice rang out once more, his tone firm and authoritative. Jungkook, she is going to be your queen, and you have to respect her. He glanced at Vian, a small smile of encouragement forming on his lip. On her face turned flushed with joy and anticipation. Scarlett looked at Jungkook in disbelief, but she can't do anything now. She signed and sat on a throne. After 2 days, Jungkook and Ryan stood in the palace garden, surrounded by the serene tranquility of nature. The soft fragrance of blossoming flowers filled the air, their colorful petals a beautiful addition to the garden's beauty. The sun cast a warm glow on their faces, highlighting their young, energetic features. Ryan looked at Jungkook, a mixture of happiness and gratitude in her eyes. She spoke softly but sincerely, her voice carrying a hint of wonder. Wine. I don't know, King. I feel like I am lucky to have you. She took his hand in hers, holding it gently as if it were something precious. Jungkook smiled at her word, a warmth radiating from within him. He gently squeezed her hand in return, the simple touch communicating volumes of his own gratitude and love. Jungkook, I am lucky to have you too. Wine King, I don't know what to say, she confessed, her words laced with self deprecation. She paused for a moment, collecting her thoughts before counting. I am just a commoner, and it feels all too surreal to be here with you. Jungkook, you are not just a commoner, he interjected firmly, his tone holding a mix of confidence and tenderness, his eyes locking onto hers. You are so much more than that. I don't care about your background or social status. I just care about you. Jungkook reached out to hold her hand, his touch gentle yet reassuring. Jungkook, you are going to be my lady soon. And as your soon to be husband, I promise to cherish and protect you with all my being. Your background or social status does not matter to me. He smiled warmly at her, his tone becoming more casual and friendly. Jungkook, and yes, don't call me king, okay? He playfully teased. Call me cook or Jungkook. Instead, I am the king in front of my people. But for you, I am just a common man. He chuckled softly, his eyes filled with affection. Vine felt her face flush a little, the informality of his request catching her off guard. Vine, okay, cook or Jungkook? She said with a small chuckle, feeling a bit more comfortable addressing him by his preferred name. The two stood there in the garden, surrounded by the beauty of nature, their hands intertwined. The sun began to set, casting a warm golden light on the palace ground. In that moment, all the worries and doubts faded away, replaced by a sense of happiness and contentment.